Hey, listen, better late than never, but never late is better. My apologies is definitely one of those nights for some technical difficulties, but needless to say, hey, you know what day it is. It's Wednesday. It's Athletes Forum Podcast. It's College Sports Crew. Thank you all for, tuning in. The people who are here in the chat, right? Thank you all for keep coming back to this crazy, wild, and fun show we got, right? We'll throw it on the board and we'll always check that out, see what we got. There's a couple topics we want to dive into today, right? Dive into today. So let's get right into it. Let's not waste no time. All right. The board says St. John's versus UConn. We want to react to that immediately. That game is currently going on right now. So let's dive into that a little bit. We got some bracket talk, right? We're getting closer to March. We're getting closer to March Madness, right? Top four seeds in each bracket, what they will look like. We'll talk a little bit about that. Hey, sorry, Chris. Sorry, Chris. I got something for you. I mean, we'll dive into it when we get there. There's been a big 4-star commit. We'll talk about that a little bit as well, too. And we're back with the wheel. The wheel's a fan base checking on the top 25 in regards to the way too soon, way too early projected top 25 in college football. We'll do a fan base check-in, dive into a campus, right, kind of get their thoughts and kind of see where it takes us from here. So without further ado, as they say around these parts, let's see what's going on when it comes to St. John's versus UConn. This is some Big East energy right here, right? You think about what the Big East used to be in regards to the teams, UConn, the Pitt, West Virginia, St. John's, right? This is a tri-state battle. I'm from New Jersey, right? So seeing teams like St. John's, seeing teams like UConn go at it in this late in the season, it's always a good watch. It's always something we want to dive into, right? Right now, UConn's giving it to St. John's, right? Right now, UConn is giving the business to St. John's. Going into this game, St. John's had beat UConn twice prior to the season. And their last matchup, which was UConn rated number 3 in the country, St. John's gave them a whipping of 81-72. So you see what St. John has been since Rick Pitino came into the mix. Dan Hurley, obviously, he's created his own mark at UConn, and now these coaches are colliding in the collision course. It's giving that Big East energy, right? Something that we got to love because we know Big East basketball, the Mecca, you talk about New York, you talk about the tri-state, right? So this game's currently going on 47 to 31 right now. Again, St. John 2-0 right now versus UConn, right? I'll tell you what, St. John's not getting a lot of production. They're not getting a lot of production from their starters. UConn, they're doing a good job at really ball movement. But I'll tell you what, Terrace Reed Jr. is going off right now, right? Terrace Reed Jr. is going off 18 points currently, 8 for 12 from the field, 3 assists. He is the reason UConn is doing what they're doing right now. The reason UConn went up 41-26 in this game, right? The reason that UConn may pull off one of the biggest wins that they've had this season, and really a statement going into the conference tournaments, going into March Madness. So I'm excited to see, what this all leads to as this game continues on the road. But this is a good game. We'll be here, right? We'll be here, so we won't really dive into like the second half. But I wanted to go in live and see, this game go at its peak. Because again, right? St. John's, since Rick Pitino's been there, has been the St. John's of old. You saw what they did last year in the tournament, right? So the fact that they're back in the mix and beating UConn regularly outside of this game is good for college basketball, right? It's good for college basketball. I know Mrs. College Football Talk is a UConn fan, so I want to give a shout out to her. But listen, man, this is a hell of a game going on. And I'll once this is off, I'm going to go catch the second half and kind of see how it all unfolds, right? Hey, listen. No, not that one. That was a couple weeks ago. Listen, the board. Let the board talk to us, right? We got some bracket talk, right? We got some bracket talk in regards to projected teams, right, and what they're gonna look like right now. Shout out to my guy College Football Talk, Chris in the chat as well too, right? Hey, shout out to Mrs. College Football Talk, right? I know she's watching UConn. Sure, she's happy right now as well too. So we want to give her a shout out. Hey, we got some bracket talk. Let's kind of dive into that a little bit in regards to what that looks like. So, projected top 4 seeds, right? Or I guess you could say, I guess a better way to phrase this is the top 16 in regards to teams that will be rated 1 through 4 in each, division or bracket, north, south, east, west, has come out from on three in the team. So I want to dive into what that looks like right now. Right. So projected brackets, right? So the 1 seeds as of right now, Michigan, right? Coming off a bad loss versus Duke, but they did bounce back, the other day. Duke coming off a great win versus Michigan and a blowout win versus Notre Dame. Arizona, who I'm iffy on, right? I know Arizona fans don't like me. It's all good. I can take it. Arizona, who I'm iffy on, and Iowa State, who is a wild card in my opinion, right? I don't know what to think of Arizona State, how much to think of of Iowa State, right? But they did have a good win versus Texas Tech not too long ago, right? The 2 seeds, UConn, Houston, Illinois, and Purdue, right? UConn's probably the better team within those 2 seeds. It's funny because I just had a conversation about Illinois not too long ago about, the team and, how they got length and how their guards are playing and the momentum. And then the next day they lose, right? I must be cursing teams, right? I must be cursing teams. And then we got Purdue. Coming at 2 seed. Now we get to the 3 seed. My team. Go Gators, right? I got my orange hat on for a reason. Go Gators, right? We're I don't want to jinx it, but we're doing our thing right now, right? And then we got Kansas, Nebraska, who I really don't trust right now. Ever since I first talked about Nebraska, right? My first college basketball conversation about Nebraska when they played Michigan, 20-game win streak. Since that game, they've lost like 3-4 games to teams that they should have won. So I don't know what they're thinking of Nebraska, right? And then Gonzaga, they're always in the mix, usually around the 1-3 seed, right? They'll always get questioned based on the conferences they play in compared to these other schools, right? So those are what the 3 seeds look like. And then we got the 4 seeds. We got Texas Tech. I'm not sure if they're going to stay a 4 seed. JT Toppin tore his ACL. I believe he's out for the season. Michigan State, Vanderbilt, who's a surprise, and Virginia, Virginia could be a scary team. When you think of Virginia, this is not your Virginia 1 seed team that lost to a 16 seed. This is a Virginia team that's actually putting up points. I remember back in the day, or even a couple years ago, Virginia was a team that, 60 points, they'll win the game. All right. They're putting up 90 now, 80, 90 points a game on people. So it's good to see Virginia still got that defense intact, but now this is a team that's actively scoring points. Right. So Virginia. Now, when you look at this, right, if the bracket were to start today, who do you trust out of this? Right. On the flip side, who don't you trust? I tell you what, I don't trust Nebraska. I don't trust Arizona. Right. And, who else is in here? Iowa State, I don't know much about. Those are probably the 2 teams I don't trust. Illinois. Nebraska, Arizona, Illinois. Probably 3 teams I don't trust. Teams I do trust outside of my Gators. I think Duke and UConn have been playing some of the best ball right now. Have been playing some of the absolute best ball right now. Michigan, too. I don't want to slack on Michigan. Michigan's playing some good ball, too. But Michigan just lost to Duke. And granted, that's a good loss, right? But I think Duke and UConn probably playing some of the best ball as of right now in the tournament. And schools that could be on upset alert. Listen, I won't give you the easy way out and tell you schools I don't trust. But, you look at that 4 seed. Excuse me. You look at that 4 seed. Texas Tech could be an upset alert. Vanderbilt could be an upset alert. Virginia, depending on the draw that they get. Heck, Michigan State could lose. Right? Kansas, starting player came and stay healthy, right? We don't even know what's going on with Kansas. So schools that they could be an upset alert, right? I'm naming those schools off the bat, right? Chris, I'm right there with you. After seeing what Houston did last year, it felt like last year was kind of their year to kind of get that team over the hump. But, just coming up a loss versus Arizona this past weekend, I think a game that they should have won. Arizona's beatable, right? So for Houston to get over the hump, I think they got to win those big games, right? Because the March Madness is all big games once you get to Sweet 16. Right now, don't sleep. You could get got in the first 2 rounds, but once you get into that 16, 8, 4, you playing big kid ball at that point, right? So we'll see how all that pans out, man. Hey, let's pay some bills real quick, right? Let's pay some bills. Hey, listen, College Sports Crew, right? We're on TikTok, we're on Instagram, right? We're on YouTube, we're on X. Follow us below. We're a team, a group of people just love talking college sports. Softball, baseball, obviously basketball, college football, right? Now, we got a lot of SEC people, right? A lot of SEC people on the team, but we dive into other conferences as well, too. So come chop it up with us, man. You can follow us on X, College Crew, YouTube, College Sports Crew, TikTok, College Sports Crew, right? And listen, don't forget hit that subscribe button for you, boy, one time. Right? Hit that subscribe button. Hey, Chris, I'm sorry for this one. Chris is I guess you could call it a colleague of mine here at College Sports Crew, right? And I just mentioned we are a lot of SEC fans. We got Kentucky, Georgia, Alabama, Arkansas, right? We're a big family here. So sometimes we got to get on family. And I almost feel bad doing this because Chris said so much good things about Florida last week, right? I was about to make him an honorary captain for the spring game, right, in the virtual realm, right, for all the good things he was saying about Florida last week, right? But I came across this one thing. What's he saying here? I came across this one thing, right, and it has to do with the Georgia Bulldogs, right? And I simply want to know how my guy feels that they passed up on a Heisman Trophy winning quarterback, right? They allegedly Fernando Mendoza tried to go to Georgia. He called. He wanted to commit. Kirby wasn't having it. Kirby said, "Listen, your bark ain't loud enough. Your phone ain't loud enough, right?" But I want to know how Chris feels about this because you could have had the Heisman Trophy winner. You could have had the number one pick, obviously, in the NFL draft this season coming up. You could have had Fernando Mendoza. Now, not just Georgia. Miami passed on him, right? Other schools passed on him, right? And listen, he was meant to go to Indiana, right? He even says it here when I think there actually might have been a time where he tried to call Kirby, wanted to commit to Georgia, call didn't go through. God help me with that. Or maybe Chris just helped him with that. Maybe Chris disabled Kirby Smart's phone because he didn't want a Cal quarterback who's supposed to be at Yale coming down to the South, right, to replace Gunnar Stockton and try to bark. Can you imagine Fernando Mendoza trying to say "Go Dogs" and trying to right? So I want to know what Chris feels about almost having the Heisman Trophy candidate. Now, listen, as I mentioned, they had Gunnar Stockton. Miami could have had Fernando. He was meant to go to Indiana. So I won't harp on that. I'm just giving my guy some grief here, right? To be fair, Kirby found out he didn't drive his car fast. Hey, ain't that the truth? Ain't that it's you gotta qualify to get into the University of Georgia. And that's based on your driving record. Right? All right, let me give Georgia fans some grief here. I'm just messing with you guys. I saw that. I had to come across that, right? So I just wanted to dive into that a little bit. Hey, listen, we've had how can I phrase this? I'll phrase this like this. Little generations are growing up. I hope that sounds right. Little generations are growing up. What do I mean by that? We got Arch Manning at Texas, right? We got Devin Fitzgerald, wide receiver at Notre Dame, Larry Fitzgerald's son. Also Jerome Bettis' son at Notre Dame, right? Who else we got? We got E.J. Smith at Texas A&M, right? Went to Stanford, running back, Emmitt Smith's son, went to Stanford, transferred to Texas A&M. We got generations coming up. There's a 4-star commit that just announced where he's going to school, right? And that is Mr. Gunnar Rivers. Son of Phillip Rivers, right? Gunnar Rivers, quarterback for St. Michael's High School down there in Alabama. As a junior, led them, I think it was a 13-1 record, passed over 2,000 yards. 4-star quarterback going to North Carolina State, going to the Wolfpack, right? it's crazy because I remember watching the draft, watching that Eli Manning, Ben Roethlisberger, and Phillip Rivers draft, right? And it's crazy to now see years later his son, one of 11 or however many kids he has, his son is going to North Carolina State, right? So I'll be excited to see how this pans out. I'm excited to see what the expectations is. There going to be hype around them, right? We'll see how it all pans out. But a North Carolina State gets a 4-star commitment from Gunnar Rivers. Again, Phillip Rivers' son, right? Play quarterback at St. Michael's Catholic over there in Alabama doing his thing. All right. Now, the reason I was late, right? And I apologize. But the reason I was late is because I've had some technical difficulties with this next segment. All right. And we're doing a fan base check-in, right? Fan base check-in. We're taking the, presumptive. I think this is it right here. Top 25 teams. Nope, that's not that. It's not that one. Where is it? Do I have the graphic? Maybe I don't have the graphic. Okay. We're taking the presumptive top 25 college football teams based on a number of networks, right? And we're doing a fan base check-in. We're breaking down schedule. We're talking about players, talking about storylines, what to expect, how we should look forward going into next season. If you missed last week, we did number 11 BYU. I will drop a link in the description of that video, right, if you want to go back and reference it. But now we're on to week 2, right? And the reason I was having technical difficulties is I was trying to get this stupid wheel to spin to get this wheel to spin on here, right, for you guys. So what I'm going to have to do, unfortunately, is I'm going to have to bring my phone up to the screen, right, and really show you who it lands on for this week, right? So the wheel, fan base check-in, week number 2, we are going to be talking about, let's play the wheel and get it going. Oh, you probably can't even see it. All right. It lands on, can you see that? Texas Tech. All right. I'll do it again for you guys. Either way, you get the point. All right. Texas Tech, Red Raiders, right? We're going to go down to Lubbock, Texas, right? We're going to check in on the Red Raiders, right? Kind of see what they've been up to, right? This is the point in the show where you should definitely subscribe, right? Because college football sports crew, we're diving into all campuses, all right? So we're in Lubbock, Texas. Let's talk some Texas Tech. Texas Tech, the Red Raiders, all right? I actually went to their game. I went to that Orange Bowl game, right? First time actually seeing Texas Tech in person. I like their fans. I like their band, right? That game wasn't their best showing, all right? That game wasn't their best showing, especially for a team that is loaded with talent that you could say was bought, whatever. This is the year of college football, or this is the era of college football. This is what happens now, right? You buy rosters, all right? So Texas Tech, I went to that last game in the Orange Bowl. I'll drop the comment for a game day vlog in here so you can check it out. Last season was a great year. I'm not even going to lie to you. It was nice to see Texas Tech, the Red Raiders, really come to life, really use that money wisely to get to at least create or develop a foundation and something that they want to build on, right? It was refreshing to see the Red Raiders, right? The tortilla Red Raider throwing fan base, right? This is a team, and I'm going to be fully honest, I haven't really been that invested or really seen them come to light since Graham Harrell threw that back shoulder fade to Michael Crabtree versus Texas, right? And that was years ago, right? True college football fans know and have watched that game. Epic. One of the greatest games we've seen, right? So it was good to see them, right, get back into relevancy, right? You think about Mike Leach has been there, Graham Harrell, Pat Mahomes before who he turned out to who he used to be, right? People forget Baker Mayfield went to Texas Tech, right? It's awesome to kind of see Texas Tech get back to relevance. Now, how do they handle going from hunting to being the hunted, right? Listen, I've talked about Georgia a lot on this show already. Way too much for my liking. But Kirby had a nice saying after winning a natty. It's like we're not we're not being hunted. We're doing the hunting. Can Texas Tech adapt that mindset? Because that now you're no surprise. Now teams are going to prepare different for you. They're going to have different expectations for you, and this is what kind of have made like the Kirby Smarts, the Nick Sabans, the Urban Meyers really so good because they were able to not only just win a natty, but take those expectations of winning and success and really rechannel, refocus, and really gear their team back to getting there and staying relevant. Georgia's still relevant today. God, I've talked too much about Georgia today. But you think about the expectations that's going to come with them. We'll dive into their schedule here as well, too. But listen, they lose some guys. Right? They lose Jacob Rodriguez. They're going to lose David Bell to the draft and a couple other David Ball to the draft and all that defensive production and a couple other guys as well, too. And speaking of the draft, this is Combine Week, right? They're going to lose those guys. So who are some key returners that they're going to have to rely on, right? Coy, I think his name is Coy Aiken, receiver, right? He's gonna have to step up. Now he has some production. He played in 13 games last year. He's gonna have to be really, really the leader of that receiving corps. Their strength, though, is going to be their three-headed monster at running back because you're going to have Jacoby Williams, you're going to have Cameron Dickey, and you're going to have Quentin Joyner. All guys who played last year, now coming back, right? Coming back for another season, right? And listen, if this is the strength of that defense, so they're not going to have to rely on their new quarterback, Brandon Sorsby, right? This is a good start. But now how does that offensive line look, right? They've invested a lot in the portal on the offensive line, rightfully so, because you're going to have to be deep there, right? But it's going to be interesting to see how that all comes together. Now, you think about the defensive side. We already talked about J-Rod. We already talked about David Ball and the defensive production that they're going to lose. However, John Curry, right, Ben Roberts, those guys who played last year, especially at the linebacker corps, are going to have to lead this defense, right? They're going to have to lead this defense and keep the momentum going because this was a defensive-led team. Not to mention, when you think about guys that are coming in to replace defensive end David Ball, it's going to come from either JoJo Johnson or Mateen. I'm really going to mess this name up, but I'm going to try. B.A. Rugby. I'm going to just call him Mateen. Let's stay there. So those guys are going to have to replace the production on the defensive line, which is going to be needed to get after opposing quarterbacks this year because the way their schedule is set up, and we're going to dive into it, some early tests, but where it matters the most, they're going to be tested late by some games that are going to be a little personal, right? So, when you think about the defense, right, it's going to have to be led by Curry and Ben Roberts, but also JoJo Mateen coming in and Mateen coming in as well too. Now we get to the new shining toy, right, for Red Raider Nation, right? And I'm talking about your quarterback, all right, that's going to lead the charge, that's going to provide something that you've really been missing, right? And that's Brandon Sorsby, right? A Texas native, right? He got a bag, right? I think he got about $5 million. $5 million in that back pocket, and Texas is a no-tax state. Listen, he's doing just fine. Now he has to put it together because if they're paying you that much, right? Obviously, Texas Tech believes in you, but if they're paying you that much, they're gonna want something back in return just naturally. That's just how life goes, right? So is Brandon Sorsby enough to kind of get this team over the hump, to kind of push it forward? Because I remember watching that game versus Oregon in the Orange Bowl, and listen, I'm not gonna get on the quarterback. It wasn't his best game, right? But what this team was lacking during the season was one, a healthy starting quarterback, but two, mobility at the quarterback position, right? We've already talked about where the strength of Texas Tech is going to be when you think about Cameron Dickey, Jacoby Williams, Quentin Joyner. Now you add Brandon Sorsby to the mix who can run too. Texas Tech offense could be lethal, right? It could be some dangerous work in the Big 12, right? It could live up to expectations. It could even be better than this team really blowing teams out by 21 or more throughout the season before the playoffs started. So I'm excited to see how Sorsby fits into that Texas Tech offense for sure going forward. Now, you think about hold. There's one guy they also got that I can't forget. A guy that's coming in from the transfer portal from Bama State. And I'm talking about Jalen Jones, right? Jalen Jones from Bama State had 51 receptions for about over 1,100 receiving yards last year and 9 touchdowns. But this is a guy that has speed and someone who's going to stretch the field, possibly take the top off. So in this air raid type of system, rest in peace, Mike Leach, in this air raid type of system, how are all these new components going to come in and really gel? I'll tell you what, they're not lacking that skill, receiver, running back, quarterback. But that offensive line is going to be the question offensively for Texas Tech, I personally think, going into the season. Okay? Now, let's take a look at their schedule. So their schedule, they're going to be tested early, right? They're going to be tested early in those games, back-to-back games, Oregon State away, and then home versus Houston, right? And then you go to Sam Houston before you get in the Big 12 play. Now, where they're going to be tested the most, in my opinion, those last 5 games. Texas Tech does not have an easy schedule, right? Arizona, surprisingly good last year, should be better. West Virginia, Rich Rod, even though it's home, they should be better, right? Oklahoma State, right? Complete new turnaround, right? A lot of North Texas guys in there. They should be better. How much better? I don't know. Baylor's going to get personal. TCU's going to get personal. And it sucks for them because they had this towards the end of the season when really, you want the hay to be in the barn at that point for your schedule, right? But if they're going to get into the playoffs, they're going to have to make it through a gauntlet. Of the schedule. Texas Tech fans, if you're in here, drop a comment. Let me know what you think, right? Because storylines and questions I personally have for you guys in Red Raider Nation going into spring ball, going into the season is, what's the next step for you and did you take it? Did you also learn from that performance and gain enough experience in that Orange Bowl to propel you guys to play at a different level going into this season? Not to mention, let's bring up the graphic. It's a quarterback league. Is Brandon Sorsby the guy? I think he is. I like him. I like him a lot. Is he the guy to take you to the promised land? Right? Athletes Forum Podcast, College Sports Crew. More importantly, drop a comment. Let me know what you think. More importantly, subscribe to the channel. Listen, I'm here every Wednesday. We talk ball every Thursday. Chasing Omaha is Tuesday. We're going to have draft talk coming up. Shout out to the Combine this week, right? We're just getting started, College Sports Crew.